Daddy, we left in the dream, captain in the field. I love my drink like Champions League. Every 25 hits, even the only field. Man, I better be road like a Ferrari. We got a bun, I said enough of the tweet. Create my own leagues, and how we compete.
Running on though, here's Canapri, he's on a hat-trick and he's in!
This is Corner Flag Talk.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Pundits FPL. And yes, the content is getting a little bit more frequent, and we're happy about that, and we are a little proud about that, you know. So that's all the good stuff about doing pre-recorded videos. You know, we can spit out a lot more content for all you. Today, what we're gonna be doing is running through a more updated wildcard draft. We know that there have been some injuries, as we talked about in the last video, and today we decided to update our wildcard draft and send it out for all the fellas to see. So, without further ado, we're going to let John introduce himself, and then we will get going.
Oh, the hell with the man say, he referred to the last video, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Go and watch the last video.
Yeah.
Go watch the last video. It is important. Without, other than that, we have our podcast out this week, guys. It was a fantastic one. I jumped in on the live today. I met my exams to tell my mother. And it was also really good with them guys talking about the Champions League. So make sure that we put out quality content for you guys. The season comes to 10, and it is a fantastic end at that. So make sure I soak up as much of it as you can.
All right, and I don't know if I'm actually allowed to do this one, but seeing that we YouTube and thing now, you know, link to the previous video right over here.
I'll try my best, though.
Editor, I hope you get that.
I'll try my best. You've had such a ball, Paul. That was that.
All right, by now, I think the
thing
will should be up there on the screen. Yeah, it will be, right? Do it in post. Anyway, the thing should be up on the screen there, so we gotta run all through it. Okay, starting in goal. I switched from my last keeper now to Fraser Forster. The reason for that is because 4.0 million. And the man been starting for Southampton. Another good thing is that Southampton have, I believe, I want to say West Brom next. And aside from Chelsea, West Brom don't usually score. So maybe Forster might be a good guy to go ahead and put in net. And worst case scenario, Forster does not start. Obviously, if he doesn't start, I mean, he gets no minutes. And then Mendy just comes in and that actually segues into Mendy and into the Chelsea defense now. The Chelsea defense has been proper. I wouldn't really look too much into that West Brom picture. I understand that they conceded 5 goals, but they also played a man down, you know, and perhaps it's just the way that Tommy Tuchel set up the side that at the moment, if a player is missing, it's just apparently too important to the machine function. All right. I hope I explained that good enough. But yeah, Mendy playing obviously in the back there for Chelsea. That has been a fantastic defense. Today again, apparently they got battered by Porto, but they didn't concede any goals. So I think that proves the fact that this is a very good defense. And statistically, it has been the second best defense in the league. You know, so why not have Mendy for some nice fixtures and a good defense? Anyway, that's enough for me right now. I just talked about the goalkeepers, and I'm gonna let John take over from here.
So, guys, for those of you who believe in things like superstitions and whatnot, it has been historically said that Chelsea and West Brom don't have a good relationship. So don't take on the result too much. Them have a personal pick. Other than that, we go into the defense, keep talking about Chelsea. We should still be willing to rely on these assets. And Rudiger not started last week. We still do believe should be an anomaly. He has been a mainstay for the most part under Tommy Tuchel. I should continue to do so. And we look at his price point compared to the others we expect to be there, such as Thiago Silva and Azpilicueta. He is the cheapest one out of all of them. Therefore, it's an easy one that we're opting you guys to get. Switching across now. We had Tierney before. This time we have Cedric. We expect that with Tierney's injury, he's out for 4 weeks to 6 weeks possibly. Hopefully, for my sake, it's not that long. But in the interim, we expect Cedric to play there. He tends to play both right back and left back. And with the lesser option of Saka playing at left back, which I do think given Arsenal's attacking struggles and whatnot, they're going to want to move away from that. Cedric should be the one filling in. That being said, for the most part, the games he's actually started in the league this year, they have played really well. And when we look at the fixtures coming up, it's really favorable ones. We're looking at Fulham and Sheffield in the upcoming fixtures. And that being said, we're expecting them for a team that, while they have been keeping some cleans recently, for the most part this season has been one of the better defenses. And we expect that to come back very soon under Mikel Arteta. And I'll touch on one more, then let Daniel talk about the other two. Again, we're back with the regular. We had him last time, and we have him again. It's because the double game week is coming up. And yes, they conceded 2 to Newcastle, but we still expect, it's Jose Mourinho. It's a defensive side. We expected some defensive returns on one side, as well as a double game week, as an attacking fullback. You expected some returns out of him. The only minor concern that we have, and we will always share these things with you guys, is that there's the tendency, one, for him to be rotated with Davies out of like nowhere. And then two, he have the weirdest problem of picking up injuries in the 57th minute. I can't understand it. It happened to me last week. I was very upset. I was extremely upset. All right? But that's about it.
Right. We talk about Chelsea being, second best defense in the league. That's all good. That's factual statistically. Moving on to the best defense in the league, Manchester City, by the statistics. And that's why we have Ruben Dias. And Ruben Dias has not missed a minute as long as he has been fit. And you know what? He has been fit for the entire season. He is probably Pep's most reliable player at the moment. And we expect him to continue to start every single Premier League game under Pep for the rest of the season. That being said, he is main cog at the heart of the best defense in the league, and they have pretty decent games coming up. So I think Ruben Dias is one that we have to have. Even though he's 6.1, yeah, maybe a little bit expensive, but for the amount of points that he should be providing until the rest of the season, I think this is a good guy to include in the wild card. And then finally, stepping over to Nat Phillips, 4.0, and we get to buy into Liverpool's defense. We know about Liverpool's defense. We know that it has been good over the years, all right? And we've seen against Arsenal that they managed to keep their first clean sheet in a while, fair enough. But perhaps that could be the start of something to come, right? They are going to be obviously fighting to remain in a Champions League spot, push into the top 4 basically, and that means that they are going to need to win games in order to get back up into the Champions League spots. I know it's a little cliche, but it has to be said that defense wins the titles, right? So what I'm trying to get at is that maybe what Klopp should be looking at is trying to show up the defense a bit going into the last quarter of the season. And in showing up the defense, we expect that Nat Phillips should be able to get a fair bit of points throughout the rest of the FPL season. Okay. Last thing I'm going to say about him is that they have really good games coming up. And yeah, I'm going to leave that alone. Perhaps we'll talk about the games a little bit later on against the midfield. But I'll go back over to John now.
So the man himself, dog. The man himself. Jesse Lingard at the moment, he cannot stop scoring. And as we spoke about in the last episode, again, go watch the last episode. Is that West Ham look fixture proof? They look 100% fixture proof at the moment. And given that we want those assets in, we shared a concern with you guys in the last episode about Mikel Antonio. We still do, however, we do think that one, Mikel Antonio should not be out for that long, and two, we also think that Lingard is playing so good right now that he should be able to maintain that form even if Mikel Antonio is missing for 1 or 2 games. Moving across from that, staying in Liverpool, and I'll talk about the two of them one time, is Salah and Jota. Now, the truth is, if Salah did score against Arsenal, we probably would not have put him in here. But that being said, he tends to be somebody who has scored in spurts, and when he scores one, we expect him to score a few after that. And we're looking at to have a big hitter going into the last couple of weeks of the season. In the draft we had last week, we had Aubameyang, but now that we saw that Salah is getting back on the score sheet, as well as he did in midweek, even though they lost to Real Madrid, we see that he's getting back to his scoring prowess. That being said, we are saying that we do think Liverpool are going to make this mighty charge for the top 4 in the end. And while we do think that Jota, he's in form, we have nothing more to say about that. He should be amongst the goals. We do think that Salah, being the main man, would become a clutch time and time again. And it has not been there for Mane this season. It really has not been. So in this Liverpool attack, other than Jota, Salah is the other way to go for sure.
Right, yeah, fair enough. Now I'm just going to touch about Mahrez real quick. Look, Mahrez, not only has he been in good form, but he's also been starting consistently, and that is something very important for me looking at Manchester City options. We talk about how important it is with Diaz starting. I think Mahrez is very similar to Diaz in that he has been starting most games in the Premier League at least. Now, the nice thing about Mahrez is that not only is he just starting, but we're actually buying into somebody who's in form for the title-winning team right now, okay? So I think that is the main reason behind choosing Mahrez in this wildcard. And aside from that, I know John will back me up on this. When Mahrez is in good form, he is definitely a man to have. You know, I mean, this is a guy that can score and assist. He's just so dangerous to the other team. You know, so yeah, Riyad Mahrez, I have to have him. I will mention real quick, if you wanted to drop down from Mars, yeah, Gundogan is probably a good option still. I think that he should be starting most games in the Prem. And the nice thing about Gundo, and Gundo probably have this one over Mars, and that when Gundo doesn't start, he doesn't come on either. And that's good. That's something that we want because it will allow a bench player to step in rather than Gundo coming on for 4 or 5 minutes and he just get 1 point. Mars, on the other hand, when he doesn't play, he does still tend to get about 20, 15 minutes in the game. So that's something to keep in mind, and we will let you all make that decision. As I said, this is just a template. Finally, Sonny, the big Korean from Spurs. Look, he's here simply because he have a double game week, okay? It's not because he's in form or anything further than that. It's simply because he has a double game week. Hopefully, though, if history does repeat itself, Son should be coming back into form because we know that this is about the most cyclic player in the league. This is about as up and down as it gets. We know Son, he'll go 4, 5, 6 games of serious red hot form and then go 4, 5, 6 games of maybe an injury, maybe some other concern. It's just not clicking for him. And then he'll go right back onto form. So look, what I'm trying to say is that the last 2 months kind of been cold for Son. Hopefully he starts heating back up, okay? And if he does heat up, well, shit, just keep him. If not, sell him. Up to you all, but definitely a player that you want to have for the double game week. And that kills that. Moving into the strikers. Usually we have the all-English attack, but that is a little bit different now. And I'm going to let John let you all know about the strikers.
So, the truth is, guys, is that we did want to have an all-English attack. But given the injury concerns over the man who met the legend, Mikel Antonio, we brought in Iheanacho. He has been in ripping form prior to the international break. And guys, what we kind of have had to do this season is just ignore when teams play Man City. It doesn't matter. We know they're going to lose. We just ignore that from their form, man. It doesn't matter at all. But before that, Iheanacho has won the Player of the Month for March going by. Deservedly so got a hat-trick against Sheffield United. And with players coming back such as James Mansell, as long as he's starting, we do expect him to be on the score sheet. He has, in recent times, successfully managed to take up the scoring mantle from Jamie Vardy and tends to be the one that they look to right now for the goals. And that being said, we want to be able to take advantage of while he's hot. As well as we look at Bamford. Leeds, again, we talked about this before, guys, and we say it again, is that Leeds don't have the best fixtures right now. If I'm not mistaken, they play City this weekend. And they do tend to be a little bit, I wouldn't say fixture-proof, but in the big games, they do tend to try and go all out. And that being said, they do create chances against these bigger teams. It's not that they get shell-shocked or anything like that. But at the same time, I guess teams like City, you still don't expect them to create that much. But we look at our Bamford for more the last 4 or 5 games for the season. And we said this in the last Wildcard. We said this on Monday, or yesterday rather, when we posted the video, is that this team is made in such a way that you could rotate players onto your bench. You don't have to worry about having 3 men on your bench that's not playing, and then when somebody is starting 11, you don't want them to play that weekend, you're in trouble. The way this team is made is that you can shift them in and out as you want to. So, that being said, I'll leave Patrick.
No, go ahead.
His favorite player in the Premier League, dog. As the Instagram says, he played him aside for the rest of the season. He got played him aside for the whole of next season. If he did the following season, he played the whole of next season.
Yeah.
Is the man who met the legend of Tottenham Hotspur, Harry Kane.
Yes, sir.
Go through, Patrick.
Yeah, I mean, shit. What can I say? Captain Fantastic, right? Look, you all saw Kane's quality over the weekend. You all saw how he took the brace. You all understand how he took that second goal. You all understand that this is a man that can score literally from any angle with either foot. This guy is the most dangerous striker in the league right now, and he's somebody that I would just not want my club to play against. Okay, I expect when Kane is on the field, I just expect him to score. I don't know how he can score. Sometimes Spurs barely touch the ball. Sometimes he barely touch the ball. But you know by the end of the game, you just expect him to score. I know it's a nice thing too. Even if he doesn't score, sometimes he does assist. The man has the most assists in the Prem. He has the most goals in the Prem, and right now, he is hunting down that record. I would say, not really a record, but he's hunting down that milestone of being one of the few players in the Premier League history to be able to top score and top assist in the same season, right? He is on course for that at the moment, and I don't think anybody gonna match him for assists, but he will have to battle Mo Salah in terms of the goals. Perhaps that means that he gets a little bit more goal hungry throughout the rest of the season. That's cool with me because you know what, he probably gonna be my captain for the rest of the season as well. Not said about Harry Kane, he has to be in your squad. If he's not in your squad, you're flecking dunce, and don't come back on YouTube, right? Put him in your side, please.
So some things that I want to say about the team too is that we would understand if people looking at Gundogan to bring it to their side, as much as like players like Rafinha as well. Just some concerns that we have going into these players is that one with Gundo, we saw it in the Champions League, and we kind of have seen it so far this season. When KDB has been fit, that he doesn't get any bucks as much as he should. Now, what should be said is that when the game, and not to get too all tactically with all it, is that when the game was 1-1 with Dortmund, he finally broke into the box, and when he did, they scored their second goal.
Exactly.
And what we would hope for, at least those of us who are going to take up Gundo, is that Pep would see that. I would try to incorporate that more with Gundo, because kind of what is kind of happening right now with KDB, is that kind of what is happening right now is that it's either they play to KDB strike or they play to Gundogan strike. And what Pep would definitely be looking for is to try to find a way to mix the two. So that should be a little caution you guys should have going forward and picking Gundogan. And with Rafinha, we don't think that at this point in time you should be doubling up on the assets from Leeds, because again of the fixtures. Now there's going to come a time in the season where probably right after the double game week you could switch from Son to Bamford and then use that extra funds somewhere else. Maybe at that point Liverpool catch the defense and they would want to use that funds on Trent or something to be able to get those assist points. But for the time being, while we think Rafinha is a fantastic player, we don't think that it should be doubling up. Given the scarcity of good strikers in the league right now, we think that Bamford is the better option.
Yeah, definitely. Took the words right out of my mouth, John. The last thing that I'll touch on when we look at this team as a whole is that we have all 15 players playing. So if on any given game week a team doesn't have a particularly appealing fixture, just bench them. For example, with Bamford. Bamford plays Twitter City next. Okay, so bench him, and that's fine. You could bench him, along with two other players that you don't really expect to score big in that game week, and just keep the rotation going. Leave your 3 worst players on the bench. I mean, it doesn't really get much more simpler than that, right? And start your best 11 basically. You also have a nice decision to make in goal, because Foster should be playing most of these games, and Southampton does have a few nice games coming up. Same thing with Lingard, actually. He's another player who seems kind of off and on in terms of the fixtures. 1 week, a good fixture, 1 week, not so good. He's a player that you could rotate as well. And then finally, we do have some players here that will just play right throughout the rest of the season, such as Salah, once he keeps his form, Jota, once he keeps his form, Harry Kane, definitely, Son most likely stays in the team as well. Maybe you want to sell Reguilon because by then maybe Davies comes back, maybe Reguilon gets hurt. Maybe the defense just isn't that good and you want to sell him. For whatever reason, that's fine. But there are options in the defense, and we'll walk you all through as the season as the season progresses as well, So that was just a nice thing that I thought about the way that we built this team. I hope that you all can use it as a good template when it comes to making your own personal wildcard this week, That being said,
I have a question for you, Patrick, and I think it was one that anybody sees this wildcard would ask, is that we have City as the title elect, right? And we actually don't expect them to drop off at any point. Probably go and try to set more records if they could, right?
Right.
But we only have 2 City assets in here. And why would that be?
Well, it's strictly down to rotation. Rotation is the key word when making this wildcard. You don't want to have too many players that you expect to be rotated in your team, because then you might find yourself in a situation where you only have 10 or sometimes 9 players that play in a particular game week, So that's why we try to limit the City assets down to 2, and we try to pick the 2 that we expect to play the most minutes. That aside from Edison, but we try to pick the 2 that we think would play the most minutes. Perhaps Jesus could be a good option, as you were telling me earlier on in the week. But then it's a case of, well, how do we fund Jesus? And probably if we were able to sell Son or maybe sold Salah or something, and then we could upgrade Bamford or Iheanacho up to Jesus. But again, that's up to viewers' discretion, and everybody gonna have their own personal wildcard. I think that comes down to the manager himself.
And we have a question from a viewer as well. Should Antonio not play? Who's a suitable replacement for around 7 mil? So we already mentioned Iheanacho, but are there any other players that are around that price point, maybe a little above, a little below, that you could be looking at?
Yeah, well, aside from Iheanacho and Bamford, there aren't too many more options. Maybe Calvert-Lewin could be okay, but that is a very short-term option. Their games get very hard very quickly, and we saw that Calvert-Lewin probably played his worst game of the season just last weekend.
Yeah.
So I would keep an eye on Calvert-Lewin. He's definitely somebody that if you needed to bring someone in now, yes, you could bring him in now. But just understand that it is a very short-term option. Just to think very quickly, are there any other teams that would take a gamble on?
Sure, at this point with Bamford playing, with Kane playing,
Exactly.
and after that it gets really really tricky. You can take the gamble on Danny Ings. He actually got some decent returns last week,
Right.
but it comes down to
8.4
also to form and price point as well.
Yeah.
That Southampton aren't necessarily winning like that at this point in time. And while he's obviously a good player, the returns just haven't been flowing for them lately. Now, like I said, he did return last week, and maybe I was also thinking about somebody for this wildcard is Mason Mount. He scored at the weekend, scored again midweek. He's at a really nice price point where for a team that is going to be chasing top four, you expect him to be amongst the mix with the final end product coming on to the end of the season. So maybe you could swap out a cheaper midfielder, for a more expensive midfielder, put him in, and then fund somebody like Danny Ings high up the pitch.
Right. Funny that I mentioned Mason Mount, I think I would go for one of his competitors in the England side, James Maddison, who we know is also back to fitness. And in speaking about Iheanacho, we talked about how nice those Leicester fixtures look. So maybe you want to swap out Jota or even Lingard for Maddison, or even Son or Mahrez. It's honestly up to you all. Yeah. It's honestly up to you all, for Maddison. I was talking about. Aside from that, I think this is a decent template, and I hope it helps.
Two guys, hope so too. Don't be surprised to see something very similar in both of our teams come this weekend.
Yeah. Okay. So that brings us to the end of this episode. Thanks everybody for watching. Hit like, share, and subscribe, and please stay tuned for our next episode. Hopefully in about a day or two, where we do the preview for the game week 31. Okay. So I'll hand you all over to John to this famous outro. Go on, Doug.
Catch you guys next time. See you soon. Take it easy. Later.